Hello, and welcome to episode number 140 of the Lines Podcast. My name is Matt Brown, joined each and every week by Colson and Brad Allen. We run down all the NFL games, hopefully in a fashion that helps you make some money. Of course, all the game breakdowns over at thelines.com. If you want to follow Brett, at Brett Colson. If you want to follow Brad, at Brad Allen NFL. If you want to follow me, at Matt Brown M2. We do appreciate it. Go in, subscribe, rate, and review all the places that you get podcasting. If you're watching this on the YouTube page, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. We really do appreciate the support on that channel as well. Guys, real quick, awesome Thursday for all of us. If you listen to the podcast from Wednesday, you probably made money as well. Probably the best breakdown of two games we've ever done. So whenever we have bad weeks, I had a horrible week last week. If we start off a good week, hey, I'm going to tell you about it. We had a good start to the week yesterday. Brad, pretty much exactly how we saw those games going down. They went down. And, I think this is one of those things where you, especially in that Cowboys and Washington game, I think is one of these deals where this is where you have to let the recency bias go. We really have to look into these matchups, and we really have to each and every week study these games, because some things might seem obvious. It's like, oh, the Redskins and football team, I should say, and the Cowboys. Look at the Cowboys just beat the Vikings last week. Well, that was like a perfect setup, a perfect matchup for them. And this was quite the opposite of that. So, this is the reason why we kind of dig into all these games the way that we do.
And I think it kind of reinforces the importance. I think there's like 8 teams in the NFL where if they are facing a bad pass rush, then they've got skill positions with talent, like the Cowboys. Can't think of any others off the top of my head. Maybe the Bengals, where maybe the Falcons would be another one where if they don't get obliterated up front, then they'll score a load of points, like the Cowboys did last week. But if they can't block, a good defensive line like the football team, then they're in trouble. And I still think that's an underappreciated angle by the market.
And Brett, we take a look at that, that Houston game, and the Lions were completely depleted. And, there was a lot of people out there. There's a lot of support for the Lions. I saw a lot of people, even on game day saying oh, I like the Lions, or take the Lions in a teaser. And I didn't want anything in this world to do with a Lions team with no Galladay and no Swift and a quarterback with an injured thumb and, a head coach is definitely going to be on his way out the door. I saw no reason in this world to back that Lions team. And again, it set up pretty well for Houston. I mean, Desmond Trufant was going to be covering Will Fuller, who Desmond Trufant was the 120th rated corner according to Pro Football Focus. I mean, it's it was a dream matchup. And of course, Will Fuller goes out and smashes. And, the Texans have been bad all year long. If you've been following this podcast, they've tricked us probably more times than we've actually been on them. But we finally got it right with the Houston Texans yesterday.
Yeah, I sat here on Tuesday and tried to make cases for the Detroit Lions, but all that goes out the window when they have nobody left on offense. DeAndre Swift out, obviously, Galladay didn't play, and they had nobody on offense to keep pace with this with the Texans offense, which just shredded Detroit's defense. It's not the same Detroit team that we liked before the season. This is a very different unit. So really no surprises there. Ugly game to watch though.
It really was. Bad. It really was. All right, let's kick off with a game here that's off the board. We talked about this game on the podcast on Wednesday, so let's just, or on Tuesday when it came out on Wednesday. It's the Ravens and Steelers. I don't even know at this point if this game's going to go off. More and more COVID tests keep coming in for the Ravens. Now we know Lamar Jackson has tested positive, so it looks like it's going to be RG3 if it does go. They reposted this game after it got moved from Thursday to Sunday at 4. It got to 4.5, back to 4. So it was kind of sitting 4.5 range. Again, pulled off the board at this point. Brad, I guess just real quickly, if they do end up playing this game, have your thoughts changed any from Tuesday to now? I mean, especially, I know you were trying at least a little bit to make a case for the Ravens. Now that RG3 would be quarterback, does that basically get you off of your thoughts from a couple days ago?
Probably. I mean, obviously it depends on the line, and we don't know what that is currently. But you would, I mean, in my eyes, the only strong part of that Ravens team was Lamar Jackson's running, and RG3 isn't really that player anymore. So they can't block. They've got no pass catchers, and now they don't have a particularly mobile quarterback. So I would probably need maybe 10 to get on the Ravens side, and I don't know if we'll get there.
Brett, I assume you're the same as we were on Tuesday. You and I really like the Steelers anyway, and so I assume this is not going to change your thought. That said, if the line does come out, hopefully you got on it, on Tuesday and your book honors as long as it happens that week. Of course, this is another one of those check your book type situations because different books do have different rules when it comes to all that. But I don't know. It would have to be kind of like Brad. It would have to be a very big number for me to get interested in the Ravens in this game right now.
Yeah, I like the Steelers at 4.5. If you got it back on Monday or Tuesday, that's obviously not going to be available when it reopens with RG3 in there. That's going to be well north of 7. It's interesting with RG3. Brad's right. He's not the runner that Lamar Jackson is, but he's probably a better thrower than Lamar Jackson, and that's probably what they need to beat the Steelers in this spot. That said, I probably won't. We haven't seen RG3 with this offense at all, so I don't know what to expect from this offense. So yeah, that's going to be a stay away. I don't know what I don't think they're going to play this game. I just don't think it's
kind of the same with me. So that's why I wanted to just kind of rush on past it here. Let's go ahead and start things off though. Let's go Raiders at the Falcons. As we look right now, taking a look, DraftKings has this at 3-point favorites for the Raiders, 54 on the total. FanDuel is sitting 3 and 53.5. And then MGM is sitting 353.5 on this one. So take a look here. We know what the Raiders have done, right? I mean, they've actually been a fairly good offense. They've at the very least, they've gone out and scored some points, moved the ball, allowed other teams to kind of score some points, move the ball as well. I think the big question mark heading into this one for the Falcons, Julio Jones. This is a guy that has not really been able to really put in, a full few weeks in a row, whether it be practices, whether it be games, whether it be whatever. Julio seems to be being nagged by whatever it might be that's going on out there. Brad, I'll start with you on this one. You're going to hear this narrative and I'll see if you believe in it, but you're going to hear this narrative, West Coast team going to the East Coast for an early game. I don't buy into that stuff anymore. These teams have changed their travel routines. They are flying first class. They're staying in luxury hotels. They have their massage therapists and their nutritionists and their trainers and everything with them. I think that was a narrative for a decade ago, not for now, but it's going to be something that's going to be said for sure.
I don't buy into that. And I think if you look over the last 3 years or so, you would have made money just blindly backing those West Coast teams in the early time slot. So not a concern for me. Now, Julio, I think the big factor, as you laid out there, is Julio. Basically over the last 2 years, with Julio not in there, Matt Ryan is thrown 3 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, averages 250 yards a game. When Julio is in there, 30 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, 280 yards a game. So just efficiency, yardage, everything goes way up. And it's the same injury, isn't it? It's been a hamstring all year long. And that all these Twitter doctors, fantasy doctors are saying this is not going to go away unless they rest him for a month, which maybe they're badly coached, maybe they've got a terrible medical staff, but they're not doing it, and it keeps re-aggravating it. So I personally couldn't back the Falcons, because even if he does go, last week he went out early, tried it again, and they scored 9 points, and I think that's a real risk of happening again. So I couldn't back them. Could I back the Raiders at -3? Probably not, because the stats guys will make this much closer to pick them. But I do see the Raiders bullying this Falcons defense. I think they will run the ball down their throat, and the way we saw them carve up KC, I think we could see a very similar thing here again from the Raiders. But at -3, it looks to be a bit priced in. If some Falcons money does show up and we get a -2.5, I would maybe have a nibble on the Raiders.
Yeah. So Brett, Falcons, look, they're allowing 8.4 yards per pass attempt. That's the most in the league. And they only give up 3.6 yards per carry. So this is kind of a pass funnel defense here. So again, Falcons going to be Raiders going to be looking to throw the ball, which, hey, look, they've been doing fairly decently this year, which is, again, to my surprise. Darren Waller, their number one receiver by and large, not even a question. He actually has double the targets of the second next guy on their team. He has 83 targets. Hunter Renfrow has 41 targets on the season. So it's like it is a tight end this offense revolves around Darren Waller at the tight end position. But if there ever was going to be a game where Ruggs finally might show up, like this might be the game. The Falcons have given up 47 catches of 20 yards or more. That is by far the most in the NFL. So maybe this is a chance for Ruggs to finally show up in this game. And then if you look on the other side of the ball, I mean, the Raiders defense is not any better either. I mean, Matt Ryan should have all day to throw. They're 31st in sacks. They're 27th in quarterback hits. So, I kind of look at this like, hey, this could end up being a track meet again, kind of like we saw with the Chiefs.
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking off of what Brad said earlier about the Falcons. They can attack teams and get chunks against defense that don't rush the passer well. And the Raiders don't even really try to get after the quarterback. 20% pressure rate this season, but they only blitz 19% of the time. So I can see Atlanta, even if Julio isn't at full strength, moving the ball here. And I imagine there's going to be a lot of support in the Raiders in this spot, coming off another impressive performance against Kansas City. So there might be a good number on Atlanta here if you want to back them. So I don't have a strong lean either way here, but I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I would probably go over if I was going to do anything in this game.
Yeah, if Julio does sit, though, player props for Calvin Ridley. Guys, go in, look at those, love them. The Raiders defense, just in the last few weeks, Keenan Allen, 9 for 103 and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill, 11 for 102 and a touchdown. Indefinitely, Calvin Ridley is not Keenan Allen or Tyreek Hill, but he's not far off from those guys. And they're going to have to throw a ton because, as we mentioned, it's just kind of the way that this works. So definitely look at Keenan Allen. I mean, definitely look at Calvin Ridley props if you can, whenever those pop up, should Julio decide to sit. He's going to have a big game. I can promise you that one. Let's head into the Cardinals and the Patriots. This is a very interesting game because this line has actually started to move, and the Cardinals were 2.5 point favorites against the Patriots, down to 1.5 now. Now we know there's some COVID news for the Cardinals as well. Larry Fitzgerald is going to be out of this game because he has been moved to the COVID list. 49.5 on the total in this one at all spots, sitting at 1.5. Brett, I know a lot of people probably look at that line and look at that line for the Cardinals and say, that seems like a short line. Why are they only 1.5 favorites against the Patriots? But I think, if you start to look, one of the reasons is because this Cardinals defense is absolute gutter trash.
Yeah, it is. And I think the Patriots will be able to find some success here. Like I said last week, there is no more unpredictable team in the NFL this year, week to week, than New England Patriots. And much of that is because of Cam Newton and this offense. So my approach will continue to be buying the Patriots off a loss and selling them off a win where they actually look good. And they didn't look good last week. So here they are facing a public darling in the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray. And bets are coming in on Arizona, but like you said, like the money appears to be coming in on the Patriots. So I would have loved to get the 2.5. Not a huge move to the 1.5 there, but I do like the Patriots here as home dogs off a loss with a huge coaching mismatch. I mean, I don't think anybody on this podcast has been impressed with what Cliff Kingsbury's done this year with Kyler Murray. So yeah, I just see this as a really good bounce back spot for the Patriots against a team that the public is just loves in Arizona.
Brad, one of the things that we know about this Cardinals defense is they are very bad at defending the run. Typically, PFF has their rush defense ranked down at number 30. We know what this Patriots team would prefer to do, and they would want to be a power run team first, with Cam having to throw just to kind of change things up. So there should be success to be found on the ground against this team. The Patriots, not a team you love to back these days, but it's an interesting spot here where it's kind of their strength on the Cardinals' weakness, and Bill Belichick tends to kind of expose those things.
Yeah, I think offensively, so strength on strength for the Patriots running game, as you say, but I also think the Cardinals passing game is going to have lots of success. So, you know, in the last month or so, they're a top 10 unit. They've really improved on where they were earlier in the season, more explosive, more consistent. They're gonna be able to protect pretty well, I would have said. You know, the PFF basically ranks matchups between offensive, defensive lines, and they've got Arizona with the second best matchup of the entire slate here. So Murray should be comfortable back there. And then, you know, as part of that failing to get pressure, this Patriots defense is worst in the league in pass defense DVOA. So I can see the Cardinals moving the ball, and I kind of agree that the Patriots should move the ball. So I was tempted by the over. Sorry. Because it does seem, I mean, it's lower than an average NFL game this year. I'm not worried about Fitzgerald missing. If anything, we might get more Andy Isabella, which you know, he's much more explosive. So that might be a positive. The reason I haven't is just because of this Murray injury. Obviously, a sprained AC joint. He's been limited in practice. Sounds like he'll be fine. They're going to shoot him up, but if there's any reluctance to run or throw deep, then, you know, that could be significant. Obviously, his legs are a huge part of what they do in the red zone on third down. And that's just scaring me off a little bit. So, you know, I'm trying to keep things tighter later in the year and you know, sort of fewer bets. And if there's anything I'm not sure about, I'm not betting it. So that's where I am with this game.
Yeah, it would either be Patriots in a teaser for me or pass. And for the reason you just mentioned, and that's where I was going to come on the Kyler Murray thing. Listen, I was watching that Thursday night game, and I was, you know, I do a show on MSG and we were live on air, and I was like, something is wrong with Kyler Murray. Like I know that they didn't pull him out of the game, they didn't whatever, but like the thing that Brad, what you just mentioned, that was the key giveaway to me. His reluctance to run. Kyler Murray, when you had some of the lanes that he had in that game, he has no problem pulling the ball down and taking off. Like, he has done it, and we've watched him do it time and time again. He was not doing it because he didn't want to get hit, because he was hurt. And like, they asked Cliff Kingsbury about his shoulder this past week, where he said, you know, we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to get on the practice field and see what's going on. If Kyler is not Kyler, then this team is completely different to me. So it is definitely a Patriots or pass for me, and you know, might end up on them in a teaser leg. Like I said, getting them up over the touchdown to a 7.5 seems like a pretty good bet for me in this one. Giants and the Bengals. Giants are 6-point road favorites over the Bengals. We're looking at a total of 44.5 in this one, guys. 44 flat actually at FanDuel as well. We take a look at this one. We know what the big story is. No Joe Burrow, unfortunately. Get well soon. I am, you know, obviously Joe Burrow fan number one, so really tough to watch him go out like he did. That said, Sports Talk Radio real quick. When you have the worst offensive line in the whole world and you have a franchise quarterback, maybe don't lead the league in dropbacks. I don't know. Just, you know, just something. There's my Sports Talk Radio rant for just a second. So we're going to get, here's the funny part of this about this. So we're going to get Brandon Allen. It's not even going to be Ryan Finley. Brandon Allen is going to start for the Bengals, called up off the practice squad. A few spot starts for him, if you remember, over the years, but nothing memorable at all for him. The Giants actually have the 10th overall pressure rate in the league. So I think this could get ugly. I think somebody, we were talking pre-show, said they didn't have an opinion on this. I actually really like the Giants in this spot. I think the Giants could have a field day in this game against this Bengals defense. The last 5 games, the Bengals have allowed a 66% completion percentage, 8.1 yards per attempt. They've given up 15 touchdowns in the last 5 games as well. They're way down in sacks and pressure rate and quarterback hits. So, hey, if Daniel Jones isn't back there wetting the bed, then he's actually looked decent and competent at times at quarterback. Brad, I don't remember if this is the one that you said you were passing on or not, but what do you think of Giants and Bengals?
Yeah, I'll probably agree with your side. I did have a small bet on the Giants and a bet on the over as well. So I think the interesting thing is, so the Giants' schedule, they faced, I think, the toughest schedule of opposing defenses. So that's been tough on dimes, and obviously that's going to be very different this week with some of the metrics you just laid out for the Bengals. He's going to have his full fleet of weapons out there: Shepard and Slayton on the outside, and Ingram. Yeah, Slayton, I think is right in line for a big game if player props and touchdowns for anyone out there. So I think
what would give you that idea? Would it be Corey Davis 8 for 128, Deontay Johnson 6 for 116, Rashard Higgins 6 for 110, Marcus Johnson 5 for 108, DJ Chark 8 for 95, McLaurin 5 for 84, Juju 9 for 77. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to hit every Slayton prop that they friggin' put on the board because it's going to be good for him, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Sounds like the floor there is 80 yards, and I suspect his over-under will not be 80 yards, so we like that one. And then on the other side of the ball, the Giants' defense have actually faced a very easy schedule, so they're probably not as good as they've looked to date this season. So one thing that just, to me, that says going forward, the Giants' offense is going to get a lot better, and the Giants' defense is going to get worse. Now, probably the safest way to play it is just leave Brandon Allen out of it and just play Giants team total over. Because who knows what we're going to get from him. So last year he was the 62nd graded quarterback by PFF. So he was truly terrible. He was around Luke Falk, Colt McCoy, Garrett Gilbert, and Trevor Siemian. That's his kind of level. So it does feel a bit to be like the Bengals are set up entirely around the quarterback. Like nothing about the team is good, but they were kept afloat because they had a good quarterback who could spread it out to good weapons. And if they don't have that, they could be, truly Jetsian. So yeah, Giants team total over, or Giants, or something around there. Anything with the Bengals being terrible.
Yeah, I don't know how you back the Bengals in this situation. I guess Brett will probably, if there's anyone in the world who would back the Bengals, it would be Brett in this situation. So I go to you. Are you going to back the Bengals?
I tend to favor the insertion of a backup quarterback because the market tends to overreact to the starting quarterback being injured. But this is not one of those spots. I can't back Brandon Allen. Like Brad said, he was atrocious last year. He's been on the practice squad all this year. I do feel a little better about him than Ryan Finley. Is there a worse quarterback in the NFL?
You're like, that doesn't say much. Like, that doesn't say much, but
I can't back the Bengals here. I think Daniel Jones is going to have a field day here. I think the Giants could rout here. So who thought the Giants would be 6-point road favorites at any point during this season? Certainly not me. I'm surprised at where we are right now, but the Giants have been playing pretty good football. I think this is warranted. So I don't have a side here, but I don't blame you at all for backing the Giants.
I mean, Daniel Jones has looked competent when he has not been running for his life. And if there's ever a game where he would not be running for his life, it would be this one. The dead last pass rush, according to Pro Football Focus, as I already mentioned, they don't hit the quarterback. They don't sack the quarterback at all. I kind of feel like Daniel Jones might be one of those kind of sneaky, again, if you're a DFS player out there as well, a guy that maybe you want to sneak into your lineups where nobody's going to be on Daniel Jones this week. I'd maybe look his way as well. I mean, the other thing, just one other, we talked about those splash catches, those explosive plays. The Bengals have also given up 39 of those catches of 20 or more yards down the field. So it's just been absolutely crazy. Let's move on to another game. Interesting here. A fairly big spread for a team that's been less than impressive. Cleveland Browns, 6-point favorites against the Jacksonville Jaguars, 49. Your total in this one. Brett, look, everything points to the Browns, should be able to have success against this Jaguars team that has just been giving up points to, nearly everybody that they have been playing. They have also made a quarterback. They've also made a quarterback change. They're going with Mike Glennon, if that tells you anything. So Mike Glennon is going to be starting for the Jaguars in this one. 6-point favorites, 49 on the total. I actually think some points probably are in play in this one. No Myles Garrett, no Denzel Ward for the Browns as well. So, should be. Glennon can't be worse than Luton was, and the Jags were scoring some points here and there. So I don't know. I kind of like points in this one if I was going to be looking at this game.
Yeah, look, the Jags are a mess. Key injuries all over the place. Plus, the team was hit with COVID this week. You've got coaches who aren't even in the facility. Like, players are coaching themselves this week. So, but without looking at the other side of it, it would appear that everything should line up for Cleveland. It just walk over Jacksonville in this game. But the Browns are a mess too, like you said. Myles Garrett out, Denzel Ward out with a calf strain, 5 players out with COVID designation. So I don't know really what to do as far as picking a side in this game. Like, we've seen the Jags in this similar spot many times, just rally together as a unit. Like, there's definitely fight in this team. I think the Browns -6 is a pretty fair line, but I like the over quite a bit. Neither one of these teams are anywhere close to full strength on defense right now. The Browns should be able to do whatever they want on offense. And I think Mike Glennon is going to find ways to move the ball through the air against this Browns defense. So I think the over, or what is it, 49 right now? I love the over here.
Yeah, I actually got it at 48 a little bit earlier in the week and feel pretty good about it. Even at 49, I think it's a play for me. Brad, you have any opinion on Browns Jags?
Raw number without doing any of these defensive injuries, 9. So I just had a small bet based entirely off that. I like it a bit less now. Garrett and Ward are out, but Jags are equally banged up. Josh Allen on the IR, DJ Hayden and Sidney Jones, their top 2 corners, both likely to miss. And then it's the weather stuff again, isn't it? 3 weeks in a row now, the Browns have had these terrible weather games. But if we strip that out, their games averaging 60 points a game. So, and there's no reason why they shouldn't score at least 30 against the Jacksonville team that's allowing 30 points a game, 31st in defensive efficiency. With the injuries, you would think Mike Glennon is professional enough to come back and put up 20 of his own. So, yeah, I like the overlook as well.
Panthers and the Vikings. I will go ahead and say this was one of the very first games that I scratched off of my list this week of games I want no part of. I just can't. I have no opinion here on this one. Maybe it's because coming off of the worst week of the season for me, I lost a decent amount on the old Vikings. Got in on them live, thought they could rally, thought they could get some stuff done. They are 3.5 point favorites over the Carolina Panthers. It looks like Teddy Bridgewater is going to be back for the Panthers, though it didn't look like last week it was that big of a difference between him and PJ Walker. But looks like Teddy is going to be out there. Will not have Christian McCaffrey, however, in this one. Brad, the Panthers on the road at the Vikings, 3.5 point dogs.
Yeah, I'm not involved in this one in the slightest. So I think, when the Panthers have the ball, I think they match up quite nicely with just their 3 sort of receiving weapons against a very young Minnesota Vikings cornerback group. So I can see them moving the ball quite nicely through the air, especially in the first half, because Brady does seem to have quite good scripts over there. But conversely, I can see the Vikings just running the ball with impunity, like this Panthers defense, especially against the run, it is one of the very worst in the league. And the Vikings are kind of one of those bully teams who I was talking about earlier, where if they can block you up front, then they've got the weaponry that they can run over you. Obviously, Adam Thielen is a huge question here, and another reason I'm not involved. COVID at the minute, unclear whether he'll play. If he does play, you would look to the over because of those sort of matchups that favour the offense, in my view. But they both play so incredibly slowly as well. They both milk the clock. They're both bottom 10 in neutral pace. So nothing for me. There are too many conflicting angles in the end.
Brett, you and I, both DFS players, whatever. I think for this one, it's I'm just going to look at Dalvin Cook props, and if they're not high enough, I'll go ahead and take a shot on something like that. But A lot of unknowns in this one. We don't necessarily know who's going to play quarterback. We don't know if Adam Thielen's going to be out there. With all the unknowns as we sit right now, the only thing I do know is Dalvin Cook is going to have a really good freaking day in this game. So I'll just be looking at Dalvin Cook props maybe to attack this one, but no real opinion on that number.
He should have his way with this Carolina defense. If Teddy plays anything north of 3, I kind of like Carolina, though. I love what Matt Rule is doing with this offense. He puts them in an optimal position to succeed on every play. And if they do get out to a lead, like defensively, the Panthers have the pass rushers who can create havoc without needing to blitz. And the Vikings with Kirk Cousins without his top pass catcher in Adam Thielen is kind of scary. So I think this is a game that the Carolina Panthers could win with Teddy Bridgewater under center. With these weapons, they could have their way with this Minnesota secondary. So I think, 3.5 is a pretty nice number for Carolina here.
Titans and the Colts. This is a very big game within that division. I don't have to tell you that. The Titans are 3-point dogs to the Colts. Colts, an expensive 3 at DraftKings. This thing could be going to 3.5 at DraftKings. If we take a look at some of the other books out there, an expensive 3 as well at FanDuel, and then over at BetMGM, an expensive 3 on the Colts there too. 51.5 your total. Now this one, another game revolving around injury news and COVID news and things like that. On the Titans side of the ball, A.J. Brown, a DNP on Wednesday and on Thursday. Of course, we're taping this on Friday morning, so we don't know what the status is for him there, but something very, very big to keep an eye on. And then DeForest Buckner is going to miss this game for the Colts on the COVID list. And so their very best run stopper against a team that has Derrick Henry in the backfield is now going to be out of the question. And so a very interesting kind of chess match here. Brett, I thought I wanted to lean towards the Titans and then the A.J. Brown news. And so until I can get some sort of clarity one way or the other on whether he's going to be out there, it's kind of hard for me to pull the trigger here. I will say at least I did have a Titans lean, but I can't go there if he's not going to go, because this team at that point is just a completely different offensive unit.
Yeah, that's a huge loss if he doesn't go. Normally, I would see this as a spot to fade the Titans, who went into Baltimore and beat the most overrated team in football last week. And as a result, this line dropped to 3. I think it was north of 3 on the look ahead last week. But I have a hard time backing this Colts team still, too. After a huge win against Green Bay, they continue to move the ball by dinking and dunking down the field. It seems to work. So, hey, maybe they can continue throwing to Nyheim Hines every game like the Patriots did for a decade and found success that way. But I don't understand why it's working. So this is going to be a pass for me. I think this line's pretty fair, and I don't know really what to do with either of these teams right now.
Yeah, I mean, the DeForest Buckner news wanted to get me on the Titans. It wanted me to say, like, okay, with him out of there, then they're just going to be able to bully with Derrick Henry. But now they're dealing with stuff of their own, and so Brad, it's just it's tough for me to pull the trigger one way or the other right now.
Yeah, that AJ Brown thing would be key. I wonder if the line would move, because if it went to 3.5, if he was announced out, I would probably back the Titans, because I think Corey Davis, he has been a lot better this year. Obviously, historically, he's been a disappointment, but he has definitely stepped up this year for whatever reason. And I think that DeForest Buckner injury is huge. The first game, the Colts did stop the Titans doing what they wanted to do. I know Henry, I think, had the most rushing yards that the Colts have given up all season, but they did generally stop the run pretty well. And that, if you force Tannehill to drop back without play action and it's just a straight drop back on 2nd and 10, he's nowhere near as effective as otherwise. So we saw last week what the Titans can do if you're missing key players in the middle of your defensive line, when obviously they wore down the Ravens late. And I could see that happening again. And then just numbers wise, this closed Colts -1. So if we just flip that, we get ourselves Titans -3, Colts -3. So it's fair in that sense. But I do think that final score in the first game was was misleading. They had equal success rates, 54% each for that game. And obviously the Titans missed a field goal, had a punt blocked, and then had a 20-yard punt as well. So I think there's probably value at the Titans, but we do have to see what happens with A.J. Brown.
Yeah. And just as you're, handicapping this game as you head into Sunday, guys, I don't think we could understate what a big difference DeForest Buckner not being in that for that offense is. I mean, this is the numbers that are going to keep getting spit at you about how good this Colts defense is. And it has been very, very good this year. But if you're somebody who doesn't pay attention to these defensive players enough and only knows kind of like the super big names, imagine if you were looking at a Rams game, but then they said Aaron Donald wasn't going to be out there. Now he's not as good as Aaron Donald, but just trying to put it on a level of what he means to that defense. Like, how you would look at the Rams defense completely different if Aaron Donald wasn't going to be playing. Well, that's how you should also look at this Colts defense without Buckner being out there. He's been that good this year. He's been that disruptive this year. And all the numbers that you get on this Colts defense don't necessarily apply with him on the sideline. So just something to think about as you move on. Chargers and the Bills. The Chargers 4.5-point dogs heading over to Buffalo. Total of 52.5 in this one. And people are going to look and they're going to say a total of 52.5. Wow, big total for a Bills game. No, the Bills are a passing team now, guys. The Bills put it in the air, and then the Chargers, guys, the last 7 games for the Chargers, they have scored 31, 27, 39, 30, 26, 21, and 34 points. The total in those games, the total combined points in those last Chargers 7 games are 69, 57, 68, 61, 57, 50, and 62. So the Chargers score a bunch and they give up a bunch. And so that's why we're looking at this total where it is at. And guess what? Give me the over in this game. There's going to be 60 points scored in this game. No doubt in my mind whatsoever. The Bills don't even try to run the ball anymore. They don't want to. The Chargers now, not only are they without Austin Eckler, Kalen Ballage is a little bit banged up as well. I imagine they're going to throw the ball every friggin' time that they get that they can as well. Brett, we always start with you on Bills games. 1, is there any weather concerns? And 2, what do you think about the Bills and the Chargers?
I haven't seen anything that's really going to have an impact here in Buffalo, so I wouldn't be worried about that. I don't have a whole lot on this game. I thought this line was pretty fair with the Bills coming off the bye at home against a West Coast team that looked good for one half of football last week and then just hit the brakes against the Jets. The Jets actually had a sweat there at the end, which was just unfathomable after that first half. But that's just Anthony Lynn football. Like it's hard to put your hard-earned dollars on anything having to do with Anthony Lynn. As good as Justin Herbert looks at times, as good as his defense looks at times, coaching matters, and the Chargers have one of the worst in the NFL. So it's really hard to back this team. I would lean Bills, who have had some extra rest and extra prep time here for Justin Herbert. They're also a little healthier on defense now, which is nice. But yeah, I'm with you. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game because, like, do people really understand yet what this Bills team is? Like I do not think they do, because it's been ingrained in their brain as to what the Bills were over the last decade. And it's like, no, that is like the complete opposite of what this team is now. Yeah. And a play caller who loves to just like dice up defenses with just finding creative ways to do it with Josh Allen. They are a passing football team, and I don't see why they wouldn't go after the Chargers in the same way in this spot. So yeah, I think 60 plus points is very, very probable in this spot. Yeah, Brad, I mean, look, Trey White is very good, but the problem is like Keenan Allen might be the most matchup proof receiver there is on the face of the planet, because he doesn't get greedy. He just he goes and finds an open space and just plops down, and then that's just what he does. And with that, he leads the league in targets. He's got 112 freaking targets already this year. Like, I mean, because he just finds a spot. He's his longest completion on the year is 26 yards.
yards to Keenan Allen. That's how ridiculous it is for this guy. Like, he is no ego, no nothing. Hey, if you want to give me 8 yards, I'll go get 8 yards. You want to give me 12, I'll go get 12. And that's just what it is. So I don't think that Keenan Allen gets limited in this game. I think the Chargers move the ball. I think the Bills move the ball. I like a lot of points here, but I am with Brett. If I had to play a side, I'm not right this second. If I had to play a side, I would play the Bills.
55 by now, and it's not. So I check the weather. I'm seeing 10 to 15 miles an hour winds. Nothing that should really slow it down whatsoever. So I think it's just wrong. You've got two teams in the top 10 in pass heaviness on early downs, 2 teams in the top 10 of pace, and they're both being very efficient with it. So yeah, I just think it should be 55. I suspect it. I think it has to move. It's got to move at some point. I don't know why it hasn't. I'll be surprised if it doesn't. For the side, probably lean Chargers. You know, the Anthony Lynn narrative is he's so conservative with a lead that, you know, he'll give up a lead. So back him as an underdog and fade him as a favourite. And I think that's probably correct. Like, if you just look at the talent on these two teams, there's no difference, and the Chargers are probably more talented. It's just coaching that makes the Bills the better team with the better record. So I think if you get that cushion of the 5 points to take away any late game mishaps or coughing up a lead, then I think that's the safer side. But as I say, I think the over is a great bet.
Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets. We currently sit with the Dolphins as 7-point road favorites over the Jets. It looks like Sam Darnold is going to be back for this game for the Jets. This thing could be going to 6.5 at DraftKings. It is -120 on the 7 if you wanted to take the full touchdown on the Jets. 44 the total. Brad, I'll kick it to you. I don't have one, I will not watch this game. 2, I do not want to. I don't care anything about this game. Tua maybe has a jammed thumb or something or whatever. Like, I don't even want to spend. I didn't want to spend 1 friggin' second trying to actually wasting my time of handicapping this game. So complete pass for me. No interest in anything.
I will keep it brief then. I liked the Dolphins at -6.5. Just missed the boat, but it might come back because, you know, the Jets took a little bit of money late last week because they've got their receivers back. So I think the way to beat the Dolphins is up front. If you can block them up, which the Broncos did last week, and you can run the ball on them, then you can nullify them because they're light and they're fast, they cover well, and they've got good receivers. Well, the Jets can do none of the things to hurt the Dolphins. Like, they're only strong with the receivers, but the Dolphins can cover those receivers and they won't be able to run the ball on them. So I think they match up beautifully for Miami to just sort of bounce back from last week and stuff them, essentially. And then with that, as soon as the Dolphins have a lead in the second half, they will just sit on the ball. So I will bet the Dolphins if it gets to -6.5. I will bet the Dolphins if Tua doesn't go and Fitzpatrick is in there because I think he's a massive upgrade. But as it stands, I'm not yet involved.
Yeah, that would be my only thing. If Fitz ends up starting this game, you might get some interest in me in the Dolphins. But Brett, as we sit right now, no interest in this one whatsoever. What say you?
I think in any other matchup, there would still be value in fading Miami right now. This offense has just been so atrocious over the past 3 weeks, 31st in yards per play. And in 2020, you have to be airing it out to score points to consistently win football games. But like Brad said, the matchups here are just bad for the Jets. They want to be throwing the football. Joe Flacco leads the NFL in air yards, which is just insane. But that's just been, Gaze has just been going YOLO with this passing attack over the past several weeks. And that's what Miami does best is defend the pass with these cornerbacks. So I don't really have a lean on this. I thought this was pretty fair, but it's hard for me to get on the Jets here in a spot where I normally would.
The Saints and the Broncos. Saints go on the road, 6-point favorites over the Broncos in this one, a 43.5 point total in today's NFL. Of course, we know the big news here is that it is going to be game number 2 for Taysom Hill. And that a lot of that has to do with the total that we're seeing right there. The Saints run the ball more when Taysom Hill's in there. Of course, they're factoring in that he's not quite as accurate. A lot of people were singing Taysom Hill's praises last week after that win if you go back and you look at the 200 and whatever 30 yards that he threw for, 45 of those were to Emmanuel Sanders when he underthrew him by like 10 yards, and Emmanuel Sanders had to stop and turn around and run backwards to come and catch the ball. And then another 36 of those yards were to Latavius Murray out of the backfield. So you're talking 75 to 80 yards of the 230 that were, questionable really at best. And so I'm not ready to crown Taysom Hill quite yet. It was about one of the softest spots you could possibly ask to land on here. Now on the road for the Broncos. Brett, like I look at this and kind of where that number is seems fair to me. It seems kind of about right, but in a game with a incredibly low total like this, I mean, you kind of either lean dog or pass, because, if you're talking 43 and we're not completely sold on Taysom Hill, then it's kind of a dog or pass type play, but I think it'll just be a pass on the game for me.
Yeah, Taysom Hill shredded a poor Atlanta defense last week. Like you said, though, that was just in the box. He did not look good to the eyes last week, and a much tougher environment here on the road against one of the best defenses in the NFL. A very complete defense. Number 3 run defense grade, number 3 coverage grade, according to PFF. And I think he's going to struggle here against Vic Fangio, as long as Drew Lock doesn't hand this to the Saints, which, of course, is always in play. Right. I think Denver can keep this close. I really like the ceiling for this Denver offense week to week because of they play great defense, but they also have weapons on offense to get splash plays and move the ball and score. And it's risky, but I like Denver here against Taysom off the win when people may just be looking at the numbers and not actually seeing how he got that production against Atlanta last week. So you're going to see a lot of bettors on the Saints here, but I think this is a good spot to sell Taysom as a pro quarterback.
Yeah, this has already moved from 5.5 to 6. So the Saints money did come in. And so sitting here where we sit right now, I mean, look, this Saints defense though, Brad, is finally playing like the Saints defense that we thought that they were going to be at the beginning of the season. They were battling tons of injuries. They were never able to get the full unit out there. Then over the last month of the season, they've been one of the very best defenses there is in the league, getting it done at every single level. So I do think the Broncos struggle as well in this one, which is why I think it just leans me to a pass, because I just, I don't want to back Taysom necessarily here against this Broncos defense, but the way the Saints defense is playing, I don't have any confidence in the Broncos either.
No, I don't think the Broncos are moving the ball at all. So they're last in early down passing success rate. I think they're last in Football Outsiders offensive DVOA. So against a defense that, as you say, has come on very strong and one of the best defenses in the league over the last month, I don't think they're going to move the ball at all. So the Broncos move the ball against Miami via the run. Well, you've got the best rush defense in the league, so that's not happening either. So I think they're really going to struggle. So it does come down to what you think of Taysom Hill and the offense. And I agree with Brett that they probably caught the Falcons a bit by surprise. On Friday it leaked that Taysom was playing. They'd probably been preparing for Jameis. And then he didn't set the world on fire, as you say. But if you use season-long numbers here, I made this one 10. So are we knocking off 4 points because he's that much worse? It's a tough one. At 5.5, I would back the Saints because I do think they are just a far superior team. But at 6, again, as I said earlier, I'm not trying to force anything at this point, so I would leave it alone.
Yeah, that's kind of with me. I could force a bet in here, and I think I'm just going to decide to not. I think I'm just going to decide to pass and live for next week, guys. Sometimes we're still licking our wounds from the week before. 49ers and the Rams. 49ers 6.5 point dogs at the Rams. A 45 total here. Brad, this is one of those games where we have talked ad nauseum about what a shell that this 49ers team is of what they used to be. I mean, it doesn't even matter where you look to. Offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, injuries all over the place, and it's not, even close to the team that they were to begin the season. The Rams on the other side here, here's the deal. And we talked about here on this podcast, and I'm perfectly fine with saying, like, we weren't wrong by any stretch of the imagination. A guy can just change and a guy can evolve. Listen, we were talking about this Rams team. We were going, what the hell is Sean McVay doing? He is sitting there and he's running on early downs, and they've become one of the most run heavy teams in the NFL. Their offense is predictable, and they're not using these skill players that they have to any sort of their ability. And then, hey, look, tip of the cap, credit to him. Last 2 weeks, he has completely abandoned that run heavy offense thing. He has completely abandoned the early down running and has basically become a friggin' he's basically become a gunslinger offense out there right now. And it's worked because, look, if you don't have Jared Goff in predictable passing situations to where teams can just tee off and blitz the hell out of him, then you actually have a guy that can be decent, and if they're fine with Deacon dunking down the field and using the tight ends and using Cooper Kupp over the middle, and then every now and then you kind of hit Robert Woods for a bigger play, we know what the defense brings to the table. It's pretty nasty. So I think I like the future of this Rams team here should McVay kind of continue what he's been doing offensively the last couple of weeks, but 6.5 still in the NFL is a pretty big number to cover.
Yes. So, I mean, just with what you were talking about there with McVay's passing last week, I'm stunned that more teams don't come out and pass the ball 80% of the time in the first half on early downs, because I think we've seen two teams do it this year. Buffalo against Seattle, and they put up 40 in that game, and then obviously the Rams did it last Monday night, and they went up and down the field. And you look at some people running on early downs the entire time and just go, what sport are you watching? But anyway, I really like a bet on over first quarter points. So long term, I don't like Nick Mullins in this game, but I do believe he can follow the Shanny script. They did that against New Orleans, came down, marched down the field for a touchdown, and then scored 2 field goals the rest of the game. Because Mullins, if you take him off his first read, he is abysmal, but he can make the first read and put the ball where it needs to go. And then the Rams, they have the second most points on their first drive of the game in the NFL this year as well. The McVay script is very good as well, and we've seen the numbers about, once they're ahead, they can put the game away. But basically, I think we've got two superb offensive minds, one with extra rest, and we need you can get over 9.5 at plus money at the minute. I've seen plus 105 out there, and I think that's a superb bet. And then in game, I think second half, maybe the way we saw in the first game, that these defenses clamp down after the script runs out, because they both like to work the short areas of the field, and these defenses flow to the ball quite nicely. So that's how I'm playing this one.
Yeah, Brett, as far as an in-game strategy for me, this is one of the ones I kind of earmarked that I'm going to be paying attention to this week, because ideally for me, the situation that would play out best for me would be that the 49ers get the ball first, the 49ers move the ball down the field and score some points, and then I get the Rams at a better number in game. And so I kind of I circle these games where I would like just a little bit under what the number is. And that's what I am right now with the Rams. If I could get this thing under 6, I would really like that much, much better. So I have this one more marked for an in-game play than I do a pre-flop play. But it's certainly one of the games where if they continue to do what they've done the last 2 weeks, the Rams could run away with this thing. I mean, it could get out of control, but we've seen coaches have success and then revert back to what they've been doing before. So I'm not ready to just say that the Rams have completely turned the corner yet. Yeah,
one of those coaches is Sean McVay. So that could definitely happen this week. I like that first quarter narrative because Shanahan's had an extra week off the bye to script a couple offensive possessions for Mullins too. So I do like that. And then the Niners already beat the Rams once this season. Granted, that was with Jimmy G, but Shanahan seems to have McVay's number in these matchups. He's won the last 3. The Niners also getting healthier on both sides of the ball. So I think this should be 6. If you can get the Niners plus 7, I think that's my play in this game. Selling the Rams off that huge game against the Bucs, a massive win for them with the seeding implications on the line there. It might be a letdown spot for the Rams here against Shanahan.
Chiefs and the Bucs. Chiefs 3.5-point road favorites over the Buccaneers. It is an expensive 3.5 on the Bucs at DraftKings. So this thing could be heading to a flat 3. But look, guys, the Bucs. I think this is a pretty much been exposed kind of as to what this team is all about. I mean, we've seen multiple. This isn't an overreaction from what we've seen recently, because we've seen it multiple times this year with this Bucs team. I was probably higher on them than I should have been. And, at the end of the day, I think when you look at this Bucs team, and despite all the playmakers, you look at these teams that have these dynamic offenses and offenses that we're marveling at, and it just takes so much away from what an offense is capable of when you have a quarterback that cannot move at all. And when you have a quarterback that is back there and you never have to worry about any sort of rollout or any sort of RPO or any sort of anything like that in today's NFL. And it's why when you look at the Chiefs and we talk about the Bills and the Seahawks and all these teams like the Cardinals, where there's just the playbook is just so much bigger that you can run. And these defenses, I think, with this Bucs team, have started to figure out that, like, hey, I think there's a way that we can defend this team, even though they do have 3 incredible wide receivers, because Brady is just so incredibly one-dimensional, and the team has no run offense whatsoever at all. And so it's become completely one-dimensional as well. I understand if you wanted to take this team at 3 and a hook, that's fine with me. If this thing gets to the flat 3, which it looks like it's going to, I think I might be making one of my bigger bets of the week on the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are a far superior team in pretty much all aspects in this game. So, Brett, I'll start with you, but I really like the Chiefs at a flat 3, and it looks like it's probably going to get there. And when it does, I will be on them at that number.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know how you can back the Bucs here. They're, like you said, they're so handcuffed with what they can do offensively, and Tom Brady is so washed. Can the fanboys finally admit that this guy is just he's done? They can't make use of what they have with all these weapons when he can't move the ball downfield. I don't know how they keep pace with Patrick Mahomes. And I think we've seen over the past several weeks, this Bucs defense is exploitable. They've given up a lot of yards over the past several weeks, and now they face the best quarterback they've seen all year. If you can get 3, I think Chiefs would be my favorite play of the week. If you can get 3, I think this could be a route. I think they're so much better than this Bucs team.
Well, there was kind of the blueprint as to how to attack this Bucs defense was just shown last week. Don't let the pressure get there. Don't let them continue to blitz with those exotic blitz schemes and get home all the time. And listen, Patrick Mahomes is going to take advantage of that. They have that in the playbook. We've talked about this with this Chiefs offense time and time again, is that they are able to attack you in any way they choose, really. I mean, if you're exploitable way down the field, they got bombers. If they need to go over the middle, they've got Kelsey. If they need to throw the backs of the backfield, they've got that as well. They can really hit you in every single different facet. So I'm not worried about the blitz getting home. I mean, it'll get home a time or two, but I'm not worried about it affecting Mahomes and the success of this offense. Really moving forward. Brad, I know we've really front loaded this in the Chiefs here. So if you're on the Bucs, I'm definitely interested to hear the take there.
I am entirely in agreement with you guys. When I sat down to look at this game, the thought was to be on the Bucs, obviously, because they lost that primetime game because the Chiefs just won theirs. So, your inclination is to take the extra half point, which we got that wasn't there last week. But going into the matchups, as you said, I just think there's a huge mismatch. And I think with Brady, a lot of it's just bad scheming. They're just dropping him back with no play action. His running backs can't catch passes, so he's just forced to chuck it outside the numbers to these receivers. And he's a 43-year-old quarterback, and these are just tough throws to make. There's no helping in the scheme. In New England, they'd run screens, they'd run play action, they'd run little digs and rubs to get people open. But it's just, you're going to drop back, you're going to have a 7-step drop, and you're going to chuck it 20 yards downfield to Mike Evans, and it's just not being efficient at all. They are 29th in the NFL in early down success rate, non-garbage time, behind the Jets, behind Jacksonville, and ahead of Denver. So that's terrible. Obviously, the Chiefs are up there in third in that metric. So I think they're not going to have the offensive success that we might just think in our heads. And then when the Chiefs have got the ball, you spoke about the blitz. We know that's how they like to play. Well, Mahomes is just the best quarterback in the NFL, according to Sport Radar metrics, against the blitz. If you think back to the game against the Ravens, you know, I think we backed the Chiefs in that game because we said they're going to blitz you and they're going to try and cover you man to man. You can't cover Kelce man to man, and you can't cover Tyreek man to man. So, unless the Bucs just change the way they play defense, which again, if they do that, they'll be playing left-handed. Then either way, they're going to get toasted by Mahomes. So, I love it. I love the -3.
Yeah, and you look at this Chiefs defense, they actually defend the pass like much better than they defend the run, and the Bucs have no run game whatsoever. So it's like, you know, I don't know. They could show me something. I could be mistaken. I think this could be my biggest play of the week, actually. And it looks like this thing's heading to a flat 3. And so just get there. Hey, keep betting the Bucs out there, people. I need this. I need that hook to be gone, and give me the flat 3 on this thing. Here's another one I don't have any play on. No real take on this. We don't know who's. It looks like it's going to be Trubisky at quarterback. The Bears and the Packers. It's sitting at 8.5 or 9, depending on where you look at it right now. They don't even have a total up at FanDuel because they don't know who's going to be playing quarterback. It's 44.5 at DraftKings. So Brett, I'll start with you. Actually, Brad, I'll start with you on this one. If you have any take on the Packers and the Bears, I do not.
I also do not, I'm afraid. I can tell you that the raw number I made on the game was 7.5. So maybe a little bit of value on the Bears, but just nothing for me really.
Brett, I mean, the only thing we really know here is, I mean, the Packers have Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, and that's an awesome combination. The Bears have a good defense that have been limiting teams to just going, you know, to blowing this Bears team out because they can't score. Outside of that, again, Trubisky, it looks like it's going to be Trubisky, but they haven't named it yet. What does that do for the Bears? Nothing for me one way or the other. So I don't know. Maybe the Packers in a teaser leg if you're a teaser player and getting them down to 2.5 and you're getting them under a field goal here in a game where they might struggle against this Bears defense. But outside of that, just nothing really from me.
I actually love the Bears in this spot.
Oh, you would.
Well, look, I was definitely... Yeah, I mean, look, I was definitely wrong about Foles and Trubisky earlier this season. They're very different quarterbacks, yes, but when speaking to the impact of a betting line, there is not a whole lot of difference between these two. So if Trubisky is under center, I love the +9 here. He's playing for his job now. I mean, he's playing for a job in the league now. He's no choice but to be prepared for this spot, go out and play good football. And he gets a very, very soft Green Bay secondary to go out and do it. We know this Bears offense is bad, but 9 points against a division rival with very little travel, next to 0 home field advantage with this defense. I think the Bears can keep this close. I think 9 is just way too much. I capped this at 7 with Trubisky. So anything north of 7, I like the Bears.
Final game of the week, Seahawks at the Eagles. We have been disappointed by the Eagles. Everyone has been disappointed by the Eagles, like week in, week out, over and over and over again. Seahawks coming off of a bye here, so they should be nice and rested. 49.5 your total in this one. Brett, look. Everything points to Seattle. And honestly, I couldn't, even if I wanted to bet the Eagles, even if my handicap said the Eagles, even if my numbers said the Eagles, I would take those numbers and I would light them on fire and I would put them in. I cannot back the Eagles anymore. Like I can't do it. I cannot, as long as Carson Wentz is under center for this Eagles team, I cannot back this Eagles team anymore. He might be in the same conversation with a bunch of these quarterbacks that we talk about as the worst quarterbacks in the league right now. Everything is pointing to that. The guy is seeing ghosts out there, and it's impossible for me to back this team, which definitely leads me to believe that you are going to take the Eagles and the 5 points in this thing.
Well, it's not just me. A lot of sharp people are betting the Eagles already this week. Glutton for pain, apparently, because I bet the Eagles every single week. But I have to agree that the number here just feels high. And like this Seattle defense can't generate any pressure up front. That's how you beat Carson Wentz. If you allow him time, he can actually get the ball downfield. That's where he is at his best, is throwing the ball 20 plus yards downfield. So I think the matchup benefits Wentz in Philly in a game that actually has huge importance to them now that they're no longer leading the division. Seattle's had a long time to prep for this game, which I don't love if I'm backing Philly, but I like the way this sets up for the Eagles, who's looked worse than Philly over the past several weeks. I just think this is, I feel like I've been saying this for a while. Like, this is the spot and this is the spot, but I actually do think this is a pretty good spot to back the Eagles at home against a really bad defense that can generate pressure.
We're gonna be sitting here doing this pod next week when we review this.
It's gonna be the same thing.
And the Seahawks win by 20. I know. And the Seahawks win by 20, and we're gonna go, it seems like it's a spot for the Eagles yet again this week or whatever. But anyway, Brad, again, I know I try not to be this guy. It's just I have no confidence at all in this Eagles team. It's just I can't, even if it got to 7, which it won't. If it got to 7, maybe you could like talk me into it, a full touchdown. But I don't know. Just at 5, it would not surprise me at all. Like I just said, if the Seahawks win this game by 20 plus points, it just would not surprise me.
Yeah, I made the game over 7, about 7.25.
Wow.
So like the chasm in quarterback play here is vast. Like Russell Wilson's PFS 4th graded quarterback. Carson Wentz is down at 38. So, like if we strip out the rest of the teams, I'm not even saying the Eagles are better anywhere else, but that's just a huge difference. And then talking about pressure, I would say Wentz this year has been bad even without pressure. So this Seth Walder shared this stat from ESPN. So on plays where 0 defenders beat their block within 2.5 seconds, so essentially, no quick pass rush wins, Carson Wentz has a QBR of 44, dead last in the NFL. So, even if you don't get to him, he's doing absolutely nothing. And then the Seahawks, they should be getting a couple of their corners a bit healthier. Their center, Ethan Posich, looks like he's going to be back as well. There were a couple of big players they were missing last week. So they look to be getting healthier. And then if we just think about the way the Eagles like play man-to-man, they like to put Darius Slate on the top receiver. So they'll probably put him on DK Metcalf. But then that leaves Avonte Maddox on Tyler Lockett. And that's another mismatch in favor of the Seahawks. So, and then the final thing I thought was obviously the body clock stuff here with the primetime game favoring the West Coast team. We know a lot. Russell Wilson's record in primetime games is very good against the spread as well. So I just thought a lot of things fell down on the Seahawks side. And I'd like to back the good quarterback, not the terrible one.
Yeah. Wentz, multiple interceptions in 6 of the 10 starts this year. Multiple picks in 6 of 10 starts this year for Carson Wentz. Just, you ain't getting me on the Eagles, baby. Keep dangling that carrot. I'm not taking it. I'm not taking it anymore. You're not.
It's only uphill from here.
Happening. Yeah, it's not happening. I'm not doing it anymore. It's just not happening. Guys, as always, all the written breakdowns over at the lines at Play Picks, so be sure and head over there. And if you want the written breakdowns of those things, and as we talk about all the time, you've heard us talk about different lines, different totals, different spreads on different juices. So that's why you got to have multiple accounts. Be sure and have at least 3 if you live in one of these jurisdictions where you can. So head over to the lines, get the very best sign-up offers there that you can get. So just click on your state. Free money deals, match bet deals, deposit bonus deals, all the stuff like that. So if the sportsbooks are going to give you some free cash, be sure and take advantage of that as well. If you want to follow Brett at Brett Colson, you want to follow Brad at Brad Allen NFL, you want to follow me at Matt Brown M2. For Brett, for Brad, I'm Matt. Talk to you guys next week.